My calendar from 2 to 10 p.m. is booked out to read Onyx Storm.
How are you real?
It's only like 500 pages.
Calendar booked out for a book? Have you ever
Listen,
have you ever been spontaneous?
no, I don't know what that is.
Okay, I'm just asking. I'm just purely I'm just fascinated. What's it like?
I read a lot of books and I enjoy reading a lot of books.
No. I'm not talking about the reading of the book. I'm talking about blocking out hobbies on your calendar.
Because if I don't block out time, I will work through that time.
Yeah, I can't relate to that either.
We're built different, I'm telling you.
If I don't block out work onto my calendar, I won't work. So, I was made to dilly-dally. Hi, welcome back to Talking in Spirals. This is season 3, episode 2, I think, but I'm not the one that keeps track of things. I'm more of the personality hire here. So ask Maria what we're doing today. What's happening right now, Maria?
My husband is playing outside with Pepper with a foot of snow and playing frisbee.
It's a whiteout outside.
It is white out. I can barely see them. Pepper is frolicking through the snow very happily.
It sounds very cute, so I did ask her to take a video and send it to me. It's adorable, but it looks very cold. Just saying.
It is very cold. It like hurts your skin to be outside in the wind.
Horrible.
Today, we're here to talk about our usual slow living content. We're going to be talking a lot about free and low cost ways to go and do things and spend some time with your loved ones that are also good for the planet.
In a sustainable manner. So, our focus is living a really full life without the resource and financial cost that comes along with the typical American way of living. And that comes down to leisure and hobbies and things. And we're going to go over some of the ways that we've been able to do that in our own lives and feel very fulfilled and happy without spending a ton of money or waste or consumerism. For those of you who are new here, this is Talking in Spirals, and you can expect a lot of talking in spirals, as the name would suggest.
A lot of tangents.
We're very like-minded in some ways and very different in others, but we both share core values and beliefs, and if you're listening, you probably do too. We're sustainability minded, we're creative, and we think that people should get back to basics in a lot of ways.
True.
So that's kind of the subject matter of this show. But again, a lot of spiraling. So who knows where we will end up? You're along for the ride now. Thank you for being here.
Tradwives?
It always comes back to Tradwives. So today we'd like to thank our sponsor, W&P.
W&P makes beautiful reusable kitchenware. They have a bunch of really fun products like reusable bags, reusable soup cubes. They are beautiful to have in the kitchen, and they're also super functional and reusable. So they focus on sustainable but beautiful pieces. Brennan is a huge fan of W&P. You've been using W&P for what now? Probably 2-3 years?
Yeah, at least. I'm a big fan. Everything they make is not only really functional and helps me to prep food and reduce waste, but it also is pretty. And that helps because every time I post one of my W&P products in my videos, I get tons of questions. Where's that from? I'm obsessed with that. That's so cute. And that's really helpful when a product is, aesthetically pleasing and you want to reach for it, but it's also functional. So W&P has given us a code for 15% off. You can use Spirals15 for 15% off your order. Thank you so much to W&P for sponsoring, and we're going to dive into the episode.
So if you're new here, we always start off with what our hyperfixation is for the past 2 weeks. So Brennan, I hate to catch you off guard with this question, but what's your hyperfixation?
That's a great question, Maria. I would have to say my hyperfixation, all the time kind of, but at the moment very much so, is like criminal psychology.
Oh.
I don't think anyone really wants to hear about that, but I'm very fascinated by it. For those of you who are new here, I have a degree in sociology. I love thinking about the way brains work and society works and just social norms and psychology and yes, also crime. I'm one of those. I will listen to every crime podcast, every crime story. Very fascinated by it. Think it's very interesting and disturbing. But I was following the Ruby Frankie case, and
Oh my god.
oh yeah,
We haven't talked about this yet.
yeah, I know. Been following that one since before it was even a case. Like, I watched a lot of commentary about the parenting styles. For those of you who don't know, very disturbing. So proceed with caution. But essentially, a famous, social media family vlogger type deal gone very wrong that ended with child abuse charges and a cult, question mark. So very, very, very wild turn of events, and very fascinating because essentially this family had millions of followers online, and people just essentially watched as they spiraled into a full-blown cult and ended up with child abuse charges. Horrifying for the kids, but I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned in groupthink and high demand religion. And yeah, lots to be taken away from this case. And I quite literally could not look away. So, Sherry Frankie, who is the oldest child of this family, recently came out with a book called The House of My Mother.
So good.
And I binged it. Oh my God, so good. Again, very disturbing. Proceed with caution, trigger warning, all of the things. If you had a narcissistic parent or an abusive upbringing, yeah, maybe skip this one.
Mhm.
Or don't, because it is probably very validating. Because this was a really, really well articulated storyline and analysis of what it's like to exist within this type of upbringing, which is pretty wild. So I listened to it. It's available on Spotify as an audiobook read by the author. And I listened to it in one day. I could not stop listening to it.
Me too.
Wow. And I sent it to Maria because she was trying to get her hands on a physical copy of the book. But once I realized it was on Spotify, I was like, no, 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 you got to listen, especially because it's read by the author.
Mhm.
So, wow. Definitely give that a read or a listen if that's something you're into. If you think we're weird for being into crime, skip it. Sorry.
It
But
was so good though. I had been like you following a lot of the news. I actually hadn't heard of Eight Passengers until she got arrested, and then I was like hooked in because I'm
oh,
also like
yeah.
you where I love listening and watching true crime. But the second I found out that Sherry Frankie was writing a book about it, I was so excited because I knew it was going to be awesome as a like firsthand account of what they experienced. And I say awesome, like it was a great book, but it's horrifying content.
It's horrifying. Yeah.
It was very surprising to see all of the stuff that she and all of her other siblings went through. And she's very honest about it and saying that she's not going to tell their stories. It's on their own term because I think only her and one of her brothers is over 18. The rest of them are still under 18. So obviously,
Yes.
privacy is very important to her because they didn't get privacy growing up.
Yeah, it was a really interesting commentary on the concept of family vlogging and having an online footprint, especially for kids who like can't consent, because I know that's a
Yep.
huge topic at the moment,
Yeah.
as it should be. Definitely needs to be talked about more.
Oh, yeah.
And we've seen a big reckoning with people putting their kids online before they knew any better. And now these kids are starting to grow up
Mm-hmm.
and speak about their experience. And Sherry Frankie in this book goes into depth about how she essentially had her entire childhood blasted online, and she did not want to be a public figure. She still does not.
Yep.
And now, we're dealing with the fallout. So that's one interesting aspect of this book. And then, of course, they literally fell into a cult,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty wild in and of itself if you're interested in cults and high demand religions, which one of my, I would say, top 5 niche
Yeah.
sociological interests. I spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours reading about the history of high demand religions and cults. It's very, very, very interesting to me. I am obsessed. So, yeah, this book checked a lot of boxes for me. If we were in a book club and you guys were in it, this would be mandatory reading from me.
Yeah, it was so good. It was one of my first 5-star reads of this year. And I'm so glad that you told me it was on Spotify because I was in the library waiting hold list and it was going to be like an entire month.
Right.
And so I didn't actually tell you that I finished it because I knew I would just like word vomit all of the stuff about it. And I wanted to save it for the podcast.
I
But it was
know.
so good. If you have even at least a little bit of interest in the impacts of family vlogging and true crime, this is ideal. And especially read by her.
Yeah, it's so good. And also, it's also just like a really thrilling read. Of course, you want to be careful the language you use here. Like, it's disturbing. The whole thing is horrific. But at the same time, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it was just objectively a good read. Like, I couldn't put it down. I was hooked. So, I mean, I'm saying that
Yeah.
I listened to it, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I couldn't take my headphones off. It was like so well put together, interesting commentary on all of the different sociological facets, but then of course just like also salacious, like, oh my
Yeah.
god, I was like, this is insane, you know, and
Mhm.
funny. She's funny as hell, which
Yeah.
just helps a lot when you're talking about something so disturbing. Really shows about the character of the person when they're able to make jokes
Yeah.
about, you know, and kind of like make light of it. And I'm just really impressed by her. She's like very young. She's in
Yeah.
her early 20s, and she has been able to reckon with such a disturbing life story and really come out on top and
Yeah.
take control of her own narrative. So definitely recommend.
And especially so
Oh
soon
my god, so soon.
because she was only arrested, what, last year or the year before?
I think she was sentenced like a year ago. Yeah, it's
To
crazy.
that, I know she was not really speaking with her family when that was happening, but to even just be like a young adult processing all of this after your mother just got arrested, regardless of your current feelings, I mean, it's still your mother.
Yeah.
There's definitely an emotional trauma impact with that
After a lifetime of abuse.
after a lifetime of trauma. So for her to process it so quickly and to be able to write this book and come out with it while the situation is still very timely, kudos to Sherry. I mean, like, it's
Wow.
incredible.
I was shook by the entire, I just couldn't, yeah. So only
Yeah.
good things to say. Definitely a 5-star read from me. And that was my hyperfixation. So we should talk more about books, you know, because there's just been so many good ones lately. But again, if anyone didn't know, I've talked about this 50,000 times on this podcast, but if you have a Spotify premium membership, it often comes with a ton of audiobooks. And I'm talking like
Mhm.
really good audiobooks, not just like random things you never heard of. Like
And new releases.
when I see a book that I really want to read, like I really enjoy reading memoirs, I will search it on Spotify, and I'm not kidding, like more than half the time it's on there,
Yeah.
included in my membership. And it's like, oh my God. And since this week, we are going to talk about some like, you know, wholesome habits and activities we can do. I definitely think listening to audiobooks and is one of them. So yeah, it all ties back. But definitely recommend if you're interested in any of those niche topics or not at all. It was just interesting. Even if you have no interest in the case itself, it was just wow, great read. So
Yeah.
that was my hyperfixation and I wanted to talk to you about it. So
It was so good.
did you binge it in like no time at all?
It took me like 8 hours.
I know, and that's like yeah, it was crazy. Like,
It was really good.
and it was cool that she read it.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of emotion behind her voice too, which a lot of times with audiobooks doesn't happen. But I think
Right.
because she was the author of her own story, that it was just like you could feel how upset she was by some of the stuff that was happening to her siblings and to her.
And it makes you feel connected to the person when it's their own voice, you
Hmm.
know?
Like, I
So,
feel like it feels like I know Sherry.
yeah.
Like, it feels like I could be friends with her at this point in time. And that's what I love about audiobooks
Right,
sometimes.
which is also weird because she talks about that. She's like, people think they know me and they
I
don't. And
know.
it's like, there's just so many layers. Like,
I know.
oh man. But
I know. There's so much to unpack.
it was really interesting the diving into how you can end up in a cult. Like,
Mhm.
very educated people ending up in a full blown high demand cult. Like, you know, Sherry's father is a professor. He's highly educated and literally ended up very deep in a cult and losing everything as a result. And it's just very interesting. So,
Yeah.
anyways, I'll stop rambling, but wow, loved it. Loved it. Go listen.
Definitely add to your TBR.
Yeah. And what's your hyperfixation?
Reading is always my hyperfixation, but a bit more broadly.
Yes, for those of you who don't know, she's a
I
bookstagrammer.
read a lot. I like reading a lot, and I'm finally getting back to posting on Bookstagram this year, so stay tuned. But a bit more broadly, my hyperfixation. Last episode, we talked a lot about different goals that we had, and it mostly surrounded slow living and different sustainable goals that we had. My hyperfixation for this week is something that I talked about a little bit last episode that I'm doing, but it's my unwind time. One of the things that I really struggled with over the last couple of years is working until 9 or 10 o'clock and then just like going and laying in bed and scrolling. And so I saw a lot of information about setting New Year's goals and New Year's habits, and it said to work on one thing a month. So for January, my goal was to start a nighttime routine. So when the clock hits 8 o'clock, I stop whatever I'm doing or wrap up whatever I'm doing. And then I go downstairs, I'll shower, I'll do my skincare, I'll brush my teeth, I'll get ready for bed, I'll fill the humidifier, fill my water. And then I sit down and read. And I'm not scrolling on my phone. I've designated that from 8 p.m. till 8 a.m. I am not scrolling. And I've been really successful with that at night, not so much in the morning. So I'm working on that for February. But my hyperfixation is my unwind time because it's been just a beautiful time for myself to sit down and like think about the day, but not like consume more content because being content creators, I feel like all we do all day is consume content and work and are attached to our phones. So,
And it's really hard to find that line
yes.
because it is a part of our job. So to be like feeling bad about our screen time and feeling bad about being on
Yep.
social media, that's like counterproductive because this is what we do and it is required of us to
Yes.
do that
Yes.
to an extent. But then, of course, also it's like there's a point where it's like, this is ridiculous, you know? So
And so on top of being a content creator, I also own a small business. And the joke is that when you own a small business, like you work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you leave your 40-hour a week job to work all the time. And I definitely have felt that.
yeah, I didn't want to work 9 to 5. So now I work 24/7.
Yeah. I have definitely felt that over the last year. So my goal this year is to really just like set some boundaries in place for myself and stop working like 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. when we're ready to go to bed. So I've been really successful with that in January for my nighttime routine, and February is my morning routine.
Sounds great.
So that's my
I love
hyperfixation.
that.
It's just like a beautiful time carved out for myself to do some self care, but then also like sit down and read.
And reading is your thing. Yeah.
Yes, reading is my thing. And there had been a lot of times last year where like I went days without reading just because I was so busy working. So at least now I have 15 minutes carved out at least every single night. I don't know. I just really love it. I like being able to spend that time away from my phone, just kind of unwinding. And I found that I fall asleep so fast now because I'm not scrolling until 11 o'clock. So we have an early wake up. Our alarms go off at 6 a.m. So it's important that I get my full hours, full 8 hours. And being able to just like shut the lights off at 10 and then being asleep within 10 minutes is incredible, life changing.
That's amazing. I love that. I got to get on that because I do be scrolling at night and I know that that's very taboo because everyone's talking about your rest, but you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Trying to be too hard on myself, but I know it would be better. I really was in the habit of reading at night for a long time there, and I have the Hatch clock. You know about this clock?
Oh, it's on my wish list.
I love it. Honestly, I've had it for like 2 years now. For those of you who don't know, it's like a sunrise, sunset kind of clock thing. And I just have it on my bedside table. And it's, it's of course a clock, but most people get it for the sunrise wake up feature, but I like the wind down feature the most. You can set it up. It's like a light, and I have mine. I think it's set to like Malibu sunset or some sunrise or something. There's like different colors and stuff, and mine is 40 minutes. It plays like a rain sound, and um it's set to 40 minutes. It basically is like a sunset, so it's just gradually dimming for 40 minutes until it fades to like full red, and then it just fades out to black. And so
Nice.
that's my wind down time when I'm it used to be reading a book. Now I'm just scrolling sometimes, and I do read Reddit.
Oh, that's okay.
I am an incel. I'm like on geography Reddit. It's bizarre. I'm like a 22-year-old boy, but
You're convincing me to get a hatch. That's been on my wish list for like 2 months, and I've been thinking about getting one.
I really like it. I'm supposed to teach you not to consume. I will say I've seen a lot of people finding them at Marshalls and TJ Maxx.
Really?
Yes, like I saw a lot of
Interesting.
people had been finding them there, and I did see the baby one at Marshalls. There's a baby one, which is like
Interesting.
it's like a I don't nest.
Yeah.
I don't know, hatch clock for babies, but yeah, I saw a bunch of them there, and
They're actually not that expensive. Their newest one's $170.
that's a lot. You think that's not that expensive?
No, I expect it to be like 300.
Really? I think it's overcharged for what it is. It's just a clock.
Yeah,
But it's an app that sets up with your phone. I'm sure there's a cheaper dupe version of it, but you can also go on like
I'm sure.
Poshmark. There's probably people selling them secondhand, but
But listen, we're buying nice and buying twice.
yes. Yeah. But I really like it. I've been using it for like 2 years, and then in the morning it's a wake up. Like mine is like birds with like a sunrise,
And
and
that's what I want.
yeah, that's really nice because I hate mornings. For those of you who are new here, you heard me talk about this before. If you're not, I hate waking up. Like I've never been a morning person. You waking up at 6 a.m. like that sounds like hell to me. I don't.
It is. My Aura Ring tells me that my time to should be like 7 to 11,
Oh, really?
but I can't. I can't because Quinn has to be to work at 8, so we wake up at 6,
That's nice that you wake
just
up with
as
him. A lot of people would not do that.
yeah, I try to be kind.
I try to be kind. I wake up at 7:45. I don't care what you think about that if you're listening to this and you think that's really late. And sometimes I sleep in late and I don't care. I used to care and feel bad about it, but you know what? My Aura ring also tells me that my circadian rhythm is like I'm aligned with the clock that my body has, and who knows.
Yeah,
But that's what feels good to me. I don't like waking up early. I don't feel good when I wake up early. I don't like a rushed morning. I like a slow morning.
yeah,
My workday gets started a lot later, but because I work for myself, that's fine.
yeah.
So,
If I could, I would wake up at 7. That would be, like, my ideal time.
yeah.
And on the weekends, we usually sleep until 7, but we can't sleep in too much because then the week ahead just is really hard and miserable to get back on to such an early schedule.
Yeah. Also with the weather, like you guys have like snow and it's dark out. It's really hard to
Yeah.
get out of bed in the winter. Like I don't know how you're getting out of bed at 6.
I haven't seen the sun in, like, 2 months.
Oh, please come here. That's sickening. That's wrong.
It does take a toll on me.
And I think it would take a toll on anyone.
Seasonal depression.
But I honestly, even if you're the most normal adjusted person, I can't imagine that that wouldn't take a toll.
Yeah.
So it's very
Yeah,
normal. There's a reason snowbirds exist, you know, and
I
they're
know.
all here right now because it's rough up there. So
You're welcome.
yeah, come down anytime. So let's dive into the episode.
Our episode today is all about what are we talking about? Oh, yeah. Our episode today is all about spending time with our loved ones, but doing it in a sustainable way and a low cost way. And I know a lot of people are doing low by months, low by weeks,
We both are.
as well as just general underconsumption challenges. And contrary to popular belief, you can walk out of your house and hang out with somebody and not spend $200.
Yeah, or even 25. It's not easy. It's not easy, but you can.
No. And I do think Brennan is the best person to discuss this with because she has a very good balance with a community and with friends and with also being sustainable. It helps that she lives in a very walkable, bikeable community and near the ocean and just like a built-in activities to do,
You're so sweet.
but she does it very well.
Thank you. It's something I've like really worked on a lot, and we've done entire episodes about this, about how communities need to be structured around the people, and we have both very strong opinions about this. Specifically me, it's one of my biggest passions. The idea of living in a walkable, bikeable community with things happening for the people is one I'm very, very passionate about, and I will continue to rant about for the foreseeable future. So
And that's what you looked for when you were moving.
yeah, 100%. So, and it's something that I'm very disturbed at how few Americans are actually even familiar with the concept because our society is built around living in these little suburbs where you pull into your garage in your car and you're in your house and then you get back in the car and you go to work, you go to this big shopping center and you go home and you don't even have, you know, activities happening specifically just for filling your cup, if that makes
Mhm.
sense, in a way that living in a walkable and bikeable community enriches your life, you know? So I have strong opinions on this. And I recognize they may come across as very privileged because I know a lot of people don't have access to that. And that is not your fault. That's sad and that's messed up. So I'm going to try to make these accessible to everyone. I also have to keep in mind that I live in Florida where there's not a harsh winter. At least I live in South Florida, so there's really not a harsh winter. So it's very different. And I think we offer, Maria and I, both very different perspectives on this sort of thing because we live in completely opposite climates. So some of the things that I'll suggest are not going to be accessible to her because she's literally in like a blizzard a lot of the time. So
Right now, especially, it's white out. I can't see outside my back window.
2 episodes in a row in a whiteout. Can't relate. Have never experienced that in my life. I'm so sorry. People are always looking for ways to fill their life and feel fulfilled. And we talk a lot about how in the United States, specifically, consumerism has become a hobby for a lot of people. And we both see a ton of issues with that. So let's shed some light on some ways that we can feel fulfilled and get that little dopamine hit without spending a ton of money, creating a lot of waste, or engaging in things that we kind of ethically disagree with without being a stick in the mud, okay? Because it's the last thing I want to be. So the number one thing for me is like having a community and having friends, and obviously that takes time to, you know, create. We have an entire episode about building community, so highly recommend giving that a listen. You can just search our show and community, it should pop right up.
Season 2, episode 1.
Perfect. So, having a built in community that shares your values to some extent, obviously, you don't need to be around people where it's just an echo chamber and you guys think exactly alike. You can absolutely and should be around people who think differently than you. But sharing your ethics and values on things like, you can tell them, hey, I'm trying to cut down my consumerism, cut down my spending. That way, you can reach out to people to hang out that understand what you're doing and are kind of on the same page.
Mhm.
So, if all your friends think having a good time is like going to the mall, and that doesn't align with you, then that's going to create some issues. So, for example, when I was doing No by January, as I talked about in the last episode, I did it with a friend, one of my best friends who gets it. And hi, Kelly, she is great for that sort of thing. And that's really helpful because you can come up with activities to do together and spend time together and really feel like you're having a lot of fun without going against the parameters of the way you're trying to live your life. So, first up is the outdoors. And I mentioned, obviously I live in Florida, so it's different. But in the last episode, we were talking about how during No by January, my friend Kelly and I decided to make our perfect day. We packed a picnic of all our favorite foods that we had at home, and we went to the state park. It was $6 for the car to get the car in.
It's not bad at all.
So $3 per person, and we had our bikes. We literally had a picnic and biked around all day, and it helps the weather is gorgeous right now. It was like 65 degrees and sunny. So we just had the most beautiful day, and we were in there for like probably, I mean, the whole day essentially. And going for a walk or a hike or a bike ride is amazing because it's so fun. You're having a good time. You can chat with your friend, and, we love to yap. So you can do that while you're like being physical and getting exercise and being outdoors. It's just like there's only benefits. And again, biking is my entire personality. So that's going to keep coming back up in this. But going on a bike ride, even just by yourself, is everything. Going for a walk, going for a bike ride, again, community makes everything better. But if you're looking for something to do, you feel like you haven't gotten out of your house and you're trying not to spend, um, shopping or spending does not need to be the default for how we go have fun. So if you can just put on a pair of headphones, be safe, okay? People get upset when I say put on a pair of headphones and go for a walk, but obviously know your surroundings. Come on. But go for a little bike ride on a bike trail somewhere where you're safe. I like to do one headphone, okay? I do try to be safe. But listen to an audiobook like the one we were just talking about, or some music or a podcast if you don't have a friend to go with, or even just call somebody and go on a walk or a bike ride. That's a really nice activity. It's so good for the environment because you're not burning any, fossil fuels. You're getting in shape, getting some exercise, getting some vitamin D, getting outside. It's the best. I also said here, having a beach or a park day and bringing your own snacks is really nice, like I just described with the state park. But here in Florida, pretty much every week we're going to the beach. So, and I'm lucky I can ride my bike, which is pretty amazing.
I wish.
Well, come here. Um, Another thing that I like to do is go to the farmers market. I go to the farmers market every single Saturday. I love the farmers market here in my city. And I know that that sounds like you're going to spend, and I'm with you. I know it, like, that is not a great place to save money, but I go with a list of things that I need and it's considered groceries for me, and I will buy a couple of things, but it just feels really nice to go walk around and be around people. If you're worried about spending money there that you shouldn't spend, bring a certain amount of cash. Like I will literally bring a 20 or whatever, and I'm like, this is all I have. So that's a good way to do it. And then also, one thing, I was spending money on coffee at the farmer's market every week. But since I was doing No by January, I would bring my own coffee in a to go cup so that I could walk with my little coffee
Nice.
and kind of have that fun little, oh, I'm walking with a coffee feeling without spending $7. So you can also watch the sunrise or the sunset. That's a really nice way to hang with friends, go for a little walk on the beach. I'm so sorry, I'm from Florida. And also, one thing that I really enjoy doing with friends that's completely free and the most eco thing you can ever do is we go pick up trash together.
Nice.
And I'm super, super lucky that in the county I live in, there's an organization called the Beach Bucket Foundation, and they put buckets on the beach in these little cubbies so that beachgoers can go pick them up, grab the buckets, and go pick up trash, dump the buckets, and replace the buckets.
Nice.
So that's a really nice activity you can do with friends while you chat, or again, the podcast, the phone call to your mom. And those are my outdoor activities that I really like to do with friends. And I highly recommend. Finding like a trail or a park that you really like in your area is an awesome start. Like where I live, we have this very long trail, spans the entire length of the island, and it's made for pedestrians and biking. And again, that's very privileged to have that infrastructure. But that's a great place to go when you just feel like you need to get out of the house and you want to be outside and you don't want to spend a bunch of money. So that's a good example. And I'm sure there's something in your community. I would hope, I know it's a privilege to have access to green space, but I would hope that there's something comparable for you, and rewiring your brain to see that as a fun little activity is a good start.
I agree with pretty much everything on your list, and I do a lot of that stuff during the summer, but unfortunately in Buffalo, it's frozen for 6 months of the year. So, I have some indoor activities to add that are low cost or free. But first, my only other outdoor event that I would add is going apple picking, lavender picking, or whatever you have in your area.
So
It is
cute.
so much fun. We went with a huge
So
group of
cute.
friends last year, and it was awesome. It's not very expensive. It is a lot of fun. There's usually a lot of activities or other things to do. So definitely recommend adding that to your outdoor list with friends. Indoor, because it's a frozen tundra, there are a couple things that I like to do. My no cost ones, we host game nights at our house with our friends, or we go to our family's house, and we have a huge supply of board games. And if you don't, you can borrow some from your local library to do that too. But we have game nights, so they end up being low to no cost because we have everything. Sometimes we'll supply like a platter of food to like eat while we're playing.
Love that.
But that's a good indoor winter activity. My next favorite one to do is baking with people. So for Christmas this year, we went to my sister in law's house and we made cookies together. And obviously, they were all ingredients that we already had. And we just spent a couple hours in the kitchen and made Christmas cookies. And it was beautiful and
That's so
low to no
cute.
cost.
You can also do like a movie night.
Oh,
That's so
yeah.
nice. If you live in a cold place, you can have friends over to like binge stupid shows. That's always really fun.
Yes.
Especially if you kind of turn it into like a bit where it's like something silly and you guys can all laugh. That's very fun.
I used to do movie nights with my best friend Sam, who's probably listening. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Today's the like shout out to our friends who are listening podcast, I guess.
Shout out to the friends that are cool with us being weird and not wanting to spend money.
Yeah, so we would usually just like put on movies for the day and drink some wine and eat a frozen pizza. And like that was our
Adorable.
thing when she lived here, and it was low to no cost and a lot of fun.
I think the moral to this story is having people in your life who you can quite literally do anything with, and it's fun and silly, and no one is being weird about it. So that's really the
True.
secret to a healthy, happy life. So find your
True.
people. We have an episode about that, and we can do more because that's
Yes.
one of my very favorite topics.
And I also want to add to community events. This could be anything from library events. So in Western New York, our local libraries host a ton of free events, and they have them on all different things. There's like crafting clubs, there's book sales that are like fill your bag book sales. There's a ton of different activities that are low to no cost again that you can take kids to. There's adult only ones. Check out your local library. If you don't have a library card, make it your mission in 2025 to sign up for a library card. They are invaluable.
A library day with friends is fun
Yes.
too. Honestly, wow, we're just grandparents, I guess. But going to the library with your friends is so cute and fun. I love doing that. We go look at some of the picture books and some of the cool old books. Like our library has a Florida room, and we'll go look at like some really old,
Oh,
cool,
that's
unique
fun.
books. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's nice. We like to do that. And then, of course, thrifting.
Yes,
Sorry, thrifting with friends.
that's my last favorite indoor activity
Uh,
is thrifting with friends because
so fun.
I mean, it's so hard here in the winter to find no cost activities that are not in your house that are out.
Yeah.
But at least thrifting, I mean, you don't technically have to buy anything. A lot of times when I thrifted with my friend when she lived up here, we would just like show each other like silly things and goofy things and then put them back on the shelf.
Right. It's
So
just an
you don't
activity.
have to spend a ton of
Yeah.
money. But I mean, it's also a lot of fun to fill your carts with clothes and then get new clothes.
Yeah.
So
Try them on. It's very fun.
thrifting with friends is great. I need a new thrifting buddy because Sam moved.
I want to
So
be your thrifting buddy.
okay, move to Buffalo. Good luck with the snow.
Sorry, I'm not going to do that. Another thing that I think is really fun is like a creative night with friends. So like a craft night
Yes.
is super fun. So if you have artsy friends that enjoy that kind of thing, I think I already mentioned this in this episode, but the Resource Depot is like a store near me where you can get, secondhand craft supplies for super cheap, or you can use stuff that you already have. Like I've been really into loom knitting lately, and I can sit with a friend and we both do some crafting. Collage nights are awesome because everyone has old books and magazines. You could do collage night, which is
Yeah.
so fun. So if you're stuck inside, you can do all of this stuff. Also, it's really fun to just cook with friends with stuff that's already in your fridge.
Mhm.
Or do like a little potluck where it's kind of a challenge. You're like, everybody brings something that they already have.
Yes.
That's really fun. And you can also like learn a skill on YouTube with a friend, kind of like, oh, let's
Ooh, I
start
like
learning
that.
how to do this. Like we could do, a little paper making class I did with my friend last year. We did a little paper making day and we
Oh,
learned
that's
how to make
fun.
recycled paper.
Or you can also work out with friends by looking at YouTube videos. If you don't have gym memberships slash don't want to leave your house, do a
Yes.
Pilates class online on YouTube. There are so many free resources on YouTube that are incredible. So utilize it.
Another thing, Maria mentioned doing a free workout class, but if you do have like a gym membership, like I have a ClassPass membership, and working out with my friends is one of my favorite things ever. And I guess that's not like no cost, but I already pay for it. So the thing is, that's a better use of my money. Okay, I'll just be transparent. I pay $80 a month for my membership,
That's a lot.
and $80,
I don't think I realized how much it was.
but I work out 4 to 5 times a
Oh,
week.
that's a lot for what you get then.
So it's like if that like some people spend $80 on like one dinner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like if it's going to keep me the whole month doing something that's really healthy for me, that's also like that's my
Yeah.
activity, like that's how I spend my time, then it's money well spent for me.
Yeah.
And also there's lower cost plans. You don't have to pay $80 a month. I just like do it a lot. But that's like a really good use of my funds for me, and it's something fun, and like it's a fun thing that I do is go to workout classes, and I'm already
Yeah.
paying for it, so it's
It's free.
nice to do with a friend.
It feels free
Well, it's
when
just
you go
budgeted
there.
in, and it's like sometimes if I'm feeling like, okay, I need to get out of this house because I'm very extroverted and I get very stir crazy. If I feel like I need to get out of the house, then I'm going to go walk to the gym and do a fun class versus,
Mhm.
trying to come up with some activity. And I'll say, hey, you want to come work out with one of my friends? Working out with friends is so fun. It is way more fun than working out alone. So, also, sometimes your city will put on free workouts, or your library.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
We have free yoga classes in the
yes,
summer.
free yoga classes in the park, things like that. Or they could be donation based where it's like you give $5 or something. That's a really cool way to do it. Or, you could check out some gyms have like your first class is free, your first week is free, that sort of thing. And that's a really fun thing to do with a friend. And then you can kind of try it out before you bite the bullet and decide if you actually want to like commit to doing that. So that's a really fun thing. My community, I'm super lucky again, offers like there's free concerts in the park every week, multiple times a week, which is amazing. So you can have friends meet you there, set up a little picnic, bring your own food, drinks, whatever, have beer in the park and watch some music. That's really fun. Our city also does this thing called Screen on the Green, which is like they play a movie once a week on this big projector in the park. So that's really
Oh,
fun.
that's fun.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It
So,
it pays to live in a good city.
yeah, it really does, but we pay the price for it, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, so there's free community events that are often happening like at your local library too. like lectures about things you might be interested in or craft nights, stuff like that. So that's really cool.
Libraries are so underutilized. It's actually insane.
So underutilized. The amount of resources available at the my boyfriend did his taxes
That's
at the
amazing.
library last year because they had a free tax day where everybody can come and get tax assistance and file.
That is great.
And that's yeah, it's amazing. There's just so much. The library is everything, and we will continue to preach that.
Yep.
This podcast is sponsored by the library.
Go
Just
get
kidding.
a library membership.
The library is sponsored by us, actually. So we love the library. It's a good place to start, especially if you're just moving to a new place. And if you have kids, go to the library. There's probably events every single day. You can also check out local museums around your area. Sometimes they'll have free admission. Like I know the art museum here has 1 day a month where it's free admission and there's music and like it's really nice. So that's definitely worth checking out if your museums in your area do that.
In addition to museums, check out your local botanical gardens, which is so useful
Yes.
for people who live in the frozen wasteland because you can't go outside and walk around very often, but you can go to your botanical gardens and yearly memberships are not that expensive. They're $65 a year. So, yes, it's not no cost, it's not free, but they do have free days that you can go. But a yearly membership is not that expensive.
Right.
So it's definitely something that you can utilize if you're like me, where sometimes you just need like to walk into a 70-degree greenhouse in the middle of the winter, which
Mhm.
we usually do. We usually take a trip to the botanical gardens every winter when we're getting to
They actually got married there,
we
so
did because the botanical gardens means a lot to us. We go every winter, so then it's like a break from the frozen snow outside. We get to see live plants. It was amazing. It was great.
and it was a cool place to have a wedding. Yeah.
Ooh,
So my mom lives in Asheville, North Carolina, so they also have rough winters and she's a member of the Arboretum there, which has hiking trails and events and like gardens and all sorts of things. So definitely looking into what your community has to offer is very cool. And again, if you have kids, like
yes.
museums, botanical gardens, things like that do free events for kids and that's so fun. You should definitely look into that. Another thing that is totally kind of like a little off the wall, but one of my all-time favorite things is organizing a clothing swap with
Oh, yeah.
friends. And I think I've talked about this before, but my friend Johanna every year does a Galentine's Day clothing swap with us, and it is so much fun.
Nice.
Everybody brings a sweet that, everybody makes like a sweet treat or something and brings it. And then it's just at her house, and everybody brings clothes, and all the girls get together. My friend Kelly calls these naked lady parties because everyone's just trying on all their clothes, but it's so fun for everybody to just get together, swap clothes. It's obviously super sustainable to see the clothes that you're no longer wearing, swapping hands and going into the hands of people you love that will actively wear your stuff and it gets new life. And also, it's just a super fun, very free evening with the girls. So,
Yes.
highly recommend. We do it on Galentine's Day, but you could do it every couple months. You could do it whenever you want.
I love it.
So that's really fun.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that, and I'll be making a video about that soon.
Also, I know we already talked about this, but if you're somewhere where you might utilize your zoo a lot, that's a great alternative to just going out and walking. I mean, I know it wouldn't work during the winter here, but you can still go to the zoo and walk around the zoo, and their yearly memberships are cheaper.
All of the things that I've listed, Maria can still do half the year, just not right now. So,
Yeah, 6 months of the
yeah.
year.
So,
I relate to your outdoor activities from like April till
yeah.
September.
And you also travel, I mean. So, there's a lot that can be done that is free, and I think it's almost been turned into this thing that in order to, live a full life and be social and be out in the world with friends, you have to spend a bunch of money or, also drinking culture is very, very normalized.
Mhm.
And if you're not trying to drink a bunch or spend a bunch of money at a bar, it really seems like that is the go-to social activity for pretty much anyone of any age group over, legal age.
Yes.
It's like, oh, let's go grab a drink. And if that's not something you're interested in doing, then these are also a really good, alternative and
Mhm.
way to kind of have that social itch scratched and build your community without relying on alcohol or spending a bunch of money. And I think that's kind of, we're seeing like a cultural shift lately in a lot of young people that are really resisting that and not wanting to just go out and drink all the time. It's been like a
Yeah.
big
I think that's where that stems from, though, with the thought of like you leave your house and then you spend $200. I think that stems from the idea that you need to go out, eat a dinner, drink, bar hop, and like do all of that stuff. But you don't have to.
It's actually astounding because I haven't done that in a long time regularly. Like when I do that now, I'm like, wow, that was a lot of money, you know? Like, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of people that do this every weekend. Like,
And I'm like, oh my God, $12 for a glass of wine. I could just buy a bottle at home and drink it at home.
$12. Come down here. Come
Oh
down
my
here. It's
God.
$20. Oh my gosh. But it's like it's really, also, I don't know about you. And again, I'm not trying to like judge anyone who likes to drink. I'm not, like, I like to have a good time sometimes. But um I don't feel good afterwards, obviously, versus like if I have a craft night with my girls, I feel great. And you can still drink and have a good time and, be silly, goofy. So that's just like an example. I also, when it's cold in Florida,
Cold.
I
Ha.
bought a little fire pit. It was in the 40s.
Cold. Ha.
Well, I bought a little fire pit, and it's really nice to hang in the yard and have people over around a fire. That's a really fun thing to do. So,
Nice.
and you can do that
We do
too,
that, but in the
not in the snow.
summers.
Yeah,
We have
yeah.
bonfires in the summers. Why then it's probably too hot for you guys.
Well, the summer for you is like winter. The thing is, living in complete weather opposites,
Yeah.
summers are really hell for us here. Like, you basically can't leave the house. Like, it's really, really, there's nothing going on. It's tough. So, I get
Yeah.
your seasonal affective disorder in the summer because all the fun activities that are happening here, they shut down in the summer. Like, all of those city offerings I just described, they don't happen in the summer.
Yeah.
They only happen, October to May, basically. So summer's rough. There's just so many different ways that you can fill your cup without spending money, without making a lot of waste, without
Yeah.
participating in excessive consumerism. And building a strong community is a community without those things, honestly. Like we said, having people around you that are interested in doing like enriching, fun activities without going against, the lifestyle that you want to have.
Well, I hope that this episode was very helpful to you and maybe inspired you to try some new things and new activities with friends. There's a ton of different ways that you can spend time with your loved ones without spending money or spending very little money. So explore your communities, figure out what is going to work best for you because, I mean, if you hate crafting, you're not going to want to go craft, but there are other activities that you can do that you and your friends will love.
Definitely. Just shut down. I just dissociated. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. Thanks again to today's sponsor, W&P. You can use our code for a little discount if you want to buy some sustainable items for your home.
We'll see you soon.
We love you.
Bye.
Bye.
There's so many there are so many free resources. Oh my God. There are so many free resources